The chair of the next panel is from the School of Thought. I'm sure he will say more. Once again, I welcome, we thank the government of Rivers State for partnering with us. And this is just the beginning for better things to come for Rivers State and for Nigeria. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much, sir. I hope we can do something about the microphones, the echo, because I know when Prof. Ihonwe speaks, there is a way that he moves the crowd. Most of his students who are here, let me not name them, quite a number of them are here, know that he has a way with words, and I think it was because there was an undue echo on the microphone. Please, most distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to now invite onto the podium, at this end of the hall, His Excellency, the former Governor of Ekiti State of Nigeria, and former Chairman, Nigeria Governors Forum, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, who is chairing this event, to please take his seat at this end. Thank you. Good to see you again. We also wish to especially, right at the center, sir. Yeah, right. We also wish to kindly invite His Excellency, Chief Dr. Nyesom Wike, CON, GSSRS, Executive Governor of Rivers State of Nigeria, to this end of the hall. Thank you, sir. I just, the GSSRS, Grand Service Star of Rivers State. You're most welcome. Please, most distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome our most revered elder statesman, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, on to this end of the hall. Let's keep the applause glowing, please. Thank you all. Thank you. I mean, they do not bite. Thank you, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I guess before we invite His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, for his opening remarks, maybe a few remarks by the Chairman. Yes. Yes, that's what I think. You wish to use that or come over here? No. You should use that one. All right. We'll give the permission that you can use that one. Or the seal is not there, I think why. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I must thank His Excellency the Governor for the honor. When you are a pensioner and a retired governor, you don't want to assume that this is an automatic place to speak from, but I'm delighted to be here this morning. And I must start by extending all protocols as already established by the moderator, and thank His Excellency the Governor of Rivers State for this very, very important meeting, and the conveners for bringing us all together this morning, and for Papa accepting to give the keynote address. So for me, really, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here at this important international conference on deepening democratic culture in our country. Going through the program and looking around the hall, it is difficult not to feel very excited to be part of a conversation on a subject of crucial importance to every Nigerian and indeed every African, on how to strengthen our democracy and ensure that it delivers on an incremental scale. It is an honor to join in unpacking the theme of the meeting in the company test, of our thinkers and practitioners from across Nigeria, Africa, and the diaspora. And putting together a conference of this magnitude and assembling the caliber of people who are lined up as speakers and facilitators undoubtedly required a considerable amount of work, for which I would like to commend and congratulate the organizers. A special word of appreciation to our two brothers and comrades. One of them, my old teacher, before he gravitated towards the University of Port Harcourt at the old University of Ife. And of course, the second, Clem Adibe, my landlord in Chicago, several years ago, a veteran of DePaul University. I should also salute my own brother and friend, the governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Ezenwo Yesom Wike, CON, GRSS, POS, for stepping forward to support a worthy cause of this nature. And gathered as we are here in the historic oil city of Nigeria, it will not be out of place to recall, for our collective benefit, that it is here that some of the titans of African social sciences built and advanced their stellar careers. I would like to recall the rich contributions of the late Professor Claude Ake, the late Professor Ikenna Nzimiro, Professor Ebo Ochfo, Professor Eme Ekekwe, Professor E.J. Alagoa, and of course our very own Professor Julius Ihonvere, who is one of the co-conveners of this conference. All of them mentors, role models, and champions in their different ways. Their scholarly contributions resonate very well with the objectives of our conference, namely, how do we enhance the experience of democratic governance for the betterment of our country and our people. And in preparing myself for chairing this session, I took a moment out to browse, since I have quite a bit of time on my own now as a retired governor, through some of the writings of Claude Ake on democracy and development, and the compilation of his selected works which Professor Ihonvere undertook. I want to note in particular, for the benefit of our conference, the distinction Professor Ake drew between the feasibility and the possibility of democracy in Africa. In making this distinction, two key points are worth reiterating in his writings: the question of democratic culture and the imperative of ensuring that our democracy is structured and managed to be developmental. And regarding political culture, although there are some important milestones we have registered since 1999, there is no doubt that we still have some way to go in building a robust culture of power and politics that is both democratic and sustained. And from challenges with the institutionalization of our political parties, including our internal party democracy, the conduct of issue-based politics, and the taming of political violence, to the growing influence of money in politics, the many abuses of social media in spreading fake news and hate speech, an unyielding winner-take-all mentality, and the exploitation of any and all loopholes to subvert the will of the electorate. There is much work to be done to ensure that our democracy is anchored and propelled by committed Democrats who ensure that their followers also engage with the civility that is befitting of citizens. Clearly, another type of politics is possible, and indeed is desperately needed in our country. And regarding the democracy development interface, whilst we have done well to sustain the longest run of elected government in the post-independence history of our country, and with full acknowledgement of the several firsts we have scored since 1999 in embedding electoral pluralism, all of us will agree that we have as yet not been too successful in ensuring that democratic governance delivers all-round development in a way and on a scale that will sustain the system as the preferred and uncontested model of choice. In the popular parlance, Nigerians are still yearning for the dividends of democracy to reach them on a mass and substantive scale. My sincere hope, therefore, that out of this conference, we will come up with fresh ideas on how we might better imbue our democracy with a civic, forward-looking, and inclusive culture founded on open and honest dialogue, a commitment to fairness, and a respect for genuine difference. And in so doing, the imperative of a democracy that is developmental has never been greater than it is today, when our people are yearning for meaningful improvements in their lives and in the conditions under which they labor. And we couldn't have had a better choice than Baba Obasanjo as keynote speaker at this important conference, at a time that our country is in search of a new leader. There's a lot of leadership lessons to glean from Baba Obasanjo's remarkable life, from his success and also from his mistakes. I once told a story to a number of my friends of how I traveled with Baba, sitting beside him on a 4.5-hour flight from Addis Ababa to Lagos. And all through the flight, Baba Obasanjo wrote a speech non-stop from the time we took off in Addis to the time we arrived in Lagos. And he still went that evening to deliver a lecture. At the time, I think it was about 75 now. At that time, of course, that was about a decade ago. But I can also say to you that I have had cause to encounter Baba in the last year in Oslo, in New York, Nairobi, Accra, London, Addis Ababa, and Dubai. And I kept asking myself, how does he do it? And he wasn't having fun. All those trips and all those meetings where I encountered him was all in the service of humanity. There is no doubt that history and posterity will treat this father figure kindly, even if we don't fully appreciate his worth in our country today. But I must not be carried away. I must not be carried away by my own ruminations on these important issues. My task is simply, as chairman, it is my singular honor and pleasure, of course, first to invite His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, for his opening remarks, and then our esteemed President Olusegun Obasanjo, the Baba of Africa and the pride of Nigeria, to get us going with the real food for thought. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Your Excellency, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is our keynote speaker, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to be with you for the international conference convened by my close friends in partnership with Rivers State government. Renowned academics, Professor Julius Ihonvere and Professor Eme Adibe of DePaul University, Chicago, United States. Let me, on behalf of the government and people of Rivers State, welcome our former president and our keynote speaker, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, and my dear friend, the former governor of Ekiti State and chairman, Nigerian Governors Forum, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, and all other speakers and participants to this conference. Academic conferences are important avenues for exchanging ideas and commitments for social development. This is precisely the purpose of this two-day conference with the theme Deepening Democratic Culture and Institutions for Sustainable Development and Security in Nigeria. The 2023 general elections are barely 1 month from today. This election is another opportunity for Nigerians to elect a new president of the Federation and governors in 30 of the 36 federating states. The success or failure of these elections would have substantial implications for the country. Success will add value by consolidating and strengthening the roots of our democracy. A failure may increase political polarization, exacerbate our social fault lines, and set our democracy backwards. As with several other social constructs, democracy has no precise definition. However, it is commonly and popularly described as the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. The relevance of democracy is in its inherent values. First, it is a regulated contestation for state power and governance through elected representatives with institutional checks and balances. Second, electoral democracy, that is the right to vote or be voted for, is a central pillar of democracy. The government must derive its authority from the will of the people, subject to the Constitution and other laws of the country. Third, the object of democracy is to advance good governance and serve all citizens' interests without discrimination. With constitutionally granted rights and freedoms, representation, no form of government is better placed to deliver social stability and prosperity for citizens than democracy. But after 24 years of democratic rule, we are yet in a position to take credible democratic elections for granted in Nigeria. Against this background, I consider this conference's theme apt because it offers a platform for stakeholders to debate the critical issues affecting our collective quest for democracy, good governance, and sustainable development and security in Nigeria. In a democracy, periodic elections are the only legitimate means for the peaceful transfer of power from one party to another. Since 1999, Nigeria has had 6 general election cycles, but none was considered substantially clean and fair, free and fair. The outcome of the 2003 general elections was rejected at different levels by the opposition and the losers and litigated up to the Supreme Court. The outcome of the 2007 elections led to protests, riots, the loss of several lives, and the destruction of property in particular sections of the country. Indeed, President Musa Yar'Adua publicly denounced the process that brought him to power as severely fed by the opposition to the Supreme Court. None of the defeated contestants believed they lost fairly and blamed the umpire, the security agencies, and politicians for undermining our democracy with brazen electoral fraud. The 2015 general election recorded some improvements with the introduction of the smart card reader and the emergence of opposition candidates as the winners of the presidential and gubernatorial elections in several states. Still, the outcome was considered rigged in favor of the opposition and litigated up to the Supreme Court. The 2019 general election was equally problematic and rejected as highly compromised by the opposition and litigated up to the Supreme Court. In Rivers State, who battled the military in the 2016 and 2019 rerun and general elections with pure courage and determination to secure our victory and retain our mandate with the sweat and blood of innocent citizens. Ordinarily, with 6 consecutive election cycles, Nigeria's electorate ought to have crystallized effective compliance and enforcement of the basic standard rules, processes, and preconditions for successful elections should never be challenging to the independent National Electoral Commission, the security agencies, the judiciary, and the political parties. Unfortunately, this is not the situation yet. Nigerians are hoping and praying for the 2023 general elections to herald the deepening of democratic culture, the rule of law, and good governance in the country. Since an election is a contest or competition for power, the entire process must be free, fair, and credible for the outcome to the citizens. When the government compromises the integrity of elections through election management agencies, it denies citizens their constitutional right to elect the leaders they want and can hold them accountable. Political leaders who emerge from the people's will are more likely to represent the collective interest, foster good governance, and advance the security and well-being of citizens. Conversely, when elections lack integrity, the leaders who emerge from outside the people's will are illegitimate. Such leaders without trust are likely to be authoritarian, divisive, and incapable of effective governance. Several election rigging threatens our democracy and constitutes an existential challenge to the nation's future stability. Therefore, deepening democratic culture and institutions for sustainable development and security is important to us as a nation, and free and fair elections with integrity remain the only path to achieving this objective. The new electoral law, especially with the provisions of the use of technology, holds the prospect for a brighter democratic experience for Nigeria if implemented effectively. But beyond the legal regime, political parties, internal practices, and external electoral behavior must conform to democratic norms and standards. The efficiency of the judiciary in interpreting and enforcing the existing regulatory regime, including the laws, regulations, and guidelines, beyond reproach, and the capacity and consistency of INEC and the security agencies to be firm, impartial, and independent in the discharge of their functions are most crucial. Finally, safeguarding and deepening our democracy lies with every citizen who must have the courage to stand up for justice, the rule of law, an independent and courageous judiciary, and our rights and freedoms to vote and be voted in a transparent election. We must get it right in 2023 to bequeath sustainable democracy and good governance to future generations. Thank you, and God bless you.
May I crave your indulgence once more to put your hands together for our Chief Host, His Excellency. Thank you very much, Chief Dr. Wike, for the most inspiring opening remarks. At this point, most distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me especially great pleasure and honor to invite His Excellency, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR, to present the keynote address. Thank you, sir.
Your Excellency, the chairman of this occasion, Governor before, Fayemi, Your Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, Governor Wike, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Rivers State, Your Excellency, the Chief Judge of Rivers State, Your Excellency, the Governor before, and before. Governor Peter Odili and his dear wife, Justice Mary Odili. Julius Vobare and his partner, my Lord spiritual and other lords, traditional, judicial, and whatever lords you may be. For my keynote address, respecting the principles of democracy. And before I go into my address, I want to apologize to the chairman of this occasion, who complained bitterly now here that he has met me in about 12 places within the last year or so. Now I will be watching out. Whenever I know he's going somewhere, I won't go there. for what I believe will be an exciting conference. And I thank the organizers for inviting me to deliver this keynote address at this critical time in our nation's political history. It has been a while since academics, politicians, policymakers, and professionals from all over the world came together to discuss Nigeria the way we are doing at this conference. Let me especially commend the governor of Rivers State, Governor Wike, for putting his weight behind this intellectual excursion and for his courage. And courage is one of the things that I believe is essential for the survival of democracy and for democracy to thrive. We sure need more opportunities to interrogate and understand our past and present to design and plan our future. As you all know, a nation that does not engage in conversation, self-analysis, even self-criticism, and regulation can make it is probable best to state right from the beginning that no two democracies are exactly alike. Democratic practice and institutions are shaped by the specificity of history, social, political struggles, culture, nature of production and exchange, orientation, social balances, and the character of the government and the ruling elite. However, citizens turn out to be beneficiaries or victims depending on the course of the progress or the process and practice of democracy. Of course, the world is increasingly complex, information and technology driven, and governance is now almost completely open. It is true that a governing and ruling elite that is not firmly anchored in production will not have the urge to invest in research and development, science and technology, and good governance. And such an elite will not have much interest in dominating the local market, penetrating foreign markets to promote accumulation for development and growth. An elite of commission agents, politicians, appointment hunters, and influence peddlers is unlikely to appreciate the value of democracy and democratization. Therefore, in this our brief conversation today, my goal is to redirect our minds to where we meet the boss. If we are patient, humble, reflective, and willing, another boss is just around the corner. Are we ready to be active passengers? Our democracy has gone through twists, dives since political independence, and we are all living witnesses to us and failures of our history has been the sustenance of democracy since the transfer of power to an elected government in 1999. There is reason to appreciate this part of our history because we have thus far kept the military out of the full and formal control and domination of political power. However, there may be reasons to doubt how much lessons the leaders and followers have drawn from our past and how they are willing to go to democracy and democratic practice. In addition, it is not enough to keep recycling activities and debates around liberal democracy, but we must, as a people, be prepared to move from democracy to democratization. That is a political and social process that is defined, driven, absorbed, and monitored by the people in their various communities and constituencies in the larger interests of the nation. It is such a process that gives us the confidence that we are building a credible and sustainable foundation for the future for everyone. Admit it or not, is an expert in Nigerian politics. We all have opinions and we have prescriptions for all the problems of Nigeria. Yet, the country is not making progress. Most of us are experts in what we know little or nothing about, and ignoramus in what is our duty and responsibility. We have tried all sorts of regimes, ideologies, planning strategies, and personalities in power. The so-called new breed did not show that they were different. Equally, states run by professors, retired military officers, and substantial improvement. True, there have been some outstanding leaders at various levels of power, but no tree has ever made a forest. The good ones are few and far in between and did not form critical mass. The lack of conversations across fault lines and primordial proclivities mean that our leaders are unable to share ideas and have durable and sustained policies for long enough time. This prevents useful cooperation, collaboration, stability, and sustainability. It means that whatever best practices are in one location remain there and may die there. If after 6 decades of political independence, our leaders are not showing clear capacities to provide a transformative leadership that unites Nigerians and contains ethnic, religious, regional, and clannish, selfish, even class proclivities, then there is a problem. In fact, it is possible to declare that the ways in which we have practiced our democracy have deepened contradictions, negative coalitions, distrust, disloyalty, and unpatriotic tendencies within and between communities and constituencies all over the country. Again, this means that there is a deep structural and philosophical problem that we must deal with. We have tended so far to pursue the symptoms of the contradiction, focus on the causes and the disease remains stubbornly endemic. Unless we generate the courage and commitment to change course and do things better and differently, we may be heading for more trouble ahead. I raise these issues because democracy, when properly in the interest of peace, inclusion, national growth, development, security, and stability, is supposed to address national problems, no matter how complex. In fact, democracy, I almost said, true democracy, promotes patriotism and nationalism, builds confidence in leaders and government, and encourages citizenry to reach the highest points of their creative and productive abilities. Democracy encourages citizens to explore the good in their nation and exploit such good and opportunities for individual, family, community, and national progress. Democracy attracts global respect and support and gives a nation, at least in an increasingly complex and competitive global division of labor and power. I do not need to remind you all that democracy attracts, like tourism, visitors, and other foreign exchange earning opportunities. But there must be consistency, sustenance, stability, and predictability. Democracy is not a one-day wonder. Continuity and predictability of policies must be ensured, and not necessarily of regime. Of course, some undemocratic and grossly dictatorial governments also can attract enclave growth, usually without development. Such regimes that breed opposition and suspicion never last, and they usually squander scarce resources on security and the curtailment of opposition. We can therefore draw some conclusion that among other factors and forces, democracy remains the best form of government that creates the necessary environment for holistic and sustainable progress almost in all areas of human endeavor, particularly in a pluralistic society like our own. However, if the practice of democracy is superficial and opportunistic, and it is designed to pursue a struggle of limited objectives, it will precipitate variants of fractured engagements that cannot address structural and philosophical contradictions and challenges. In fact, the order of the day will be community against community, religion against religion, leader against leader. Ordinary citizens are then dragged into the directionless, meaningless, and opportunistic personal or narrow ambitions of leaders. The end result will be confusion, diffusion, distract integration. Conversation and easily settle on the verge of comedy. Political campaigns are taken over by insults, lies, self and selfish interest, and diversions, not on issues of national interest and progress. Party platforms are developed, launched with fanfare, and promptly discarded. critical issues are discarded as intellectuals and technocrats are sidelined, while minions, gatekeepers, and job hunters take over the campaign and build iron rings around the candidates at all levels. Candidates are caged and milked opportunistically. At the end, people get elected. They never believe in or share a common platform, fail to carry Nigerians along, lack a deep understanding of the trends and tendencies in the social and economic system. They are foreign to foreign affairs. Again, I will be the first to say there are exceptions to this scenario. What we seek is for all persons and constituencies to be collectively involved in the same process of deploying democratic tenets to guide competition for and deployment of political power. We must put the best foot forward. Politics is not a dirty game. The rules and principles are all there and known to most actors. It provides the foundation that guide political activities. Democracy equally enables political actors to engage each other within set rules. But when actors confuse the beginning with the end, or adopt the infamous Machiavellian dictum that the end justifies the means, they get set for a race without boundaries, with no rules or where anything goes. The norms of politics and political competition get imprisoned as the actors invent new engagement as they go along and seek to undo one another in non-beneficial issues to the ordinary person, an ordinary citizen. We fail to understand that democracy is not a one-shot game. It is evolutionary, and it takes time to ground the practice. It is not for quick change, and indeed, if we play by the rules, we will all realize that regimes or governments can change, but the tenets remain constant. They believe by some that revolution is preferred. We will not be so bitter with the election result or overload the courts with litigations, very many of which are like try your luck. When we learn to play by the rules and respect the principles of democracy, we recognize that ascension to office does not empower incumbents to destroy all policies and programs initiated by their predecessors. Rather, a new leader is expected to contribute to a high level of continuity of policies. The stability that a free and fair election process brings should encourage elected officials to take off quickly and produce results. In this case, it really does not matter. It really does not matter the party your predecessor belonged to. The policies and projects are in the interest of the people. Party is only a platform to achieve the best for the people by those who have got the mandate of the people. Our failure on several, if not on all fronts, is because we are impatient with democracy and democratic practice. That impatience takes an element of greed, selfishness, and lack of patriotism with it. Yet, if you look at our pre-colonial history, we will find countries who are genuinely democratic, including checks and balances to prevent dictatorship and bad governance in whatever form. When a new king or queen is installed, he or she does not proceed to behave as if the community is new. He or she does not immediately proceed to build a new palace and destroy the legacies of the predecessors. Rather, the focus is to correct past errors, build on inherited legacies, cultivate support from all quarters, enhance inclusion and respect existing government and leadership structure and institutions. In Nigeria, each new government behaves as if Nigeria is a newly found country. In fact, some leaders sound as if they plan to reinvent Nigeria and create new Nigerians overnight. And you will hear them for the first time ever, as if Nigeria had never been there before them. That is because they miss the aspect of democracy that emphasizes continuity, stability, and predictability. One regime can lay the foundation, but it requires many regimes to continue to build positively and constructively on the foundation. It is largely because we do not appreciate the damage that we do individually and collectively to the fabric of the nation. The sort of anger and bitterness we express while talking about fellow Nigerians, our willingness to throw out the baby and the bathwater, the high level of intolerance and preparedness to unleash violence on opponents give cause for concern. I marvel at the level of arrogance, of incompetence and ignorance. The impunity is sickening. I believe practice. We must take some time for introspection and ask if we have been doing the right thing to ourselves and to future generations. And in reality, it is not rocket science to get back on the path of democracy and social justice. It begins with self-commitment, then leadership commitment. There are thousands of persons with integrity all over the country and in the diaspora. Leaders need to identify and connect these persons with their communities and organizations to build national movement and commitment. Once we commit to opening up democratic spaces, sanctioning breaches, and emphasizing transparency and accountability at all levels, Nigeria will begin the cultivation of a new democratic culture that will spread to all nooks and corners of the nation. I do not, by any means, assume that this will be easy. We have made many false starts in the past. We have steadily become impatient with democracy, its principles and practice, as we demand instant results. But past failure should not discourage us from embracing new vistas perspective. Let me state very clearly that the principles I've been talking about include, but certainly not limited to, building and compacting a truly people-led and people-driven constitution that they will own and defend against political predators of any form. This is the basic foundation that when you involve the people in the process, they understand it, make their inputs, see the document as their own, not only women defend it, it will also assignments and realignments. Their welfare and well-being is involved, and they can make meaningful contributions. The extent to which we buy into the popular compacting of democratic constitution and use the process to strengthen the independence of the judiciary and the electoral umpire, encourage the popular teaching of the Constitution to promote a culture of constitutionalism, promote and guarantee basic rights, the easier it will be for Nigeria to engage the challenges that negate national growth and development. Money cannot buy patriotism, but it can build institutions, interactions, and promote brand of development that commits the people to the nation and its leadership. This will be followed by 1. Citizen participation in rule-based political competition. How much internal democracy do the parties have? Are the parties used to identify and train new leaders? Are there philosophical differences that promote true choice for the people? Do all qualified citizens have the opportunity to vote in elections? How much political education are the parties providing for their supporters? Are women treated equally in the political process? Do we provide adequate space and time for the youth in our democratic and political process? Or do we just pay lip service to not too young to run? Is the electoral umpire well funded and truly independent without bias and favor? Do parties and leaders obey their own constitution? To what extent is the deployment of money regulated and are sanctions enforced without fear or favor? How reliable and independent is the judiciary? Equality. 2, equality before the law and respect for human rights. The leadership, functioning, funding, and monitoring of security agencies, and even as importantly, the independence of the judiciary are critical. Do rights really matter? And how easy is it for citizens to access justice? Are socio-economic rights considered important, at least in national discourses. 3. Tolerance and inclusion. Are there institutions that protect and guarantee the rights of children, women, and minorities? Do we tolerate differences and truly encourage the closure of fault lines? 4. Accountability of leadership and public officials. How accountable are the elected and appointed officials? Do we have an open, consistent, and serious battle against corruption? Do the citizens have? What is the level of transparency in governance? Is governance as constituted used to advance individual and collective rights and the enhancement of social justice? And 5, respect for the Constitution and the rule of law. Is the Constitution regarded as the grand norm that guides the basic functioning of the legal system? Do political actors truly have regard for the documents? There are enough full legal minds at this program to throw light on this challenge. And 6, the importance of leadership. Leaders are both born and made. For enduring and thriving democracy that will deliver the dividends to the people, there must be systematic and continual development and training for democracy and for good governance. By all means, these do not exhaust the tenets of democracy, but they represent a good starting point. If a nation through these levels, all other tenets will be easy to achieve. Again, I must reiterate that there are no shortcuts, no quick fixes, and no magic wand. Let me conclude this brief address by reiterating my main point. Democracy is possible in Nigeria, and we have the capacity to build a culture of democratization. However, we must recognize and accept the fact that it is an evolutionary process with principles. We must also appreciate the fact that it does not mean that all problems will disappear overnight. Rather, with strengthened institutions, a democracy will empower us to effectively and efficiently manage the contradictions and challenges in the system. Without retracing our political steps to the right direction, the current process will either not produce the right leaders, or it will leave so many broken blocks on the path to governance and attract resources and energy away from the task of rebuilding Nigeria and consolidating our democratic practice. The result will be democratic quagmire, increased corruption, insecurity, richest, and better connected, with little or no recognition of merits. the implication and cost of such a scenario to our present and future can best be imagined. I pray that God will grant us the wisdom to do what is right for our nation and people at all times, and more so now. I believe there are many experts here to discuss the issues I have raised and offer even more profound prescriptions. I truly wish you all a most successful conference, and I am looking forward to learning from the outcome of your deliberations. Thank you.
We are indeed grateful for the tour de force. Most remarkable. I was telling Professor Hall a while ago, there must be a special grace on the life of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo to stand for that long. Aspect of the program for this morning, the book presentation. On my way here, yesterday I rode with one of the participants at this conference, a professor at the Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda. And wondered why there was so much ease in the traffic in Port Harcourt. And I said, oh, the bridges. You must give it to His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State. And between the airport and has provided accommodation for us, I think we counted about 5 bridges, which is a testimony to the remarkable achievements of His Excellency, Governor Nyesom Wike. And so it is proper that the title of the book, which presentation we're about to midwife in a moment, is Bridging Rivers. Thank you. Yeah, okay, I got myself. So I wish to remark that at this point we'll continue with the program, and we have the very special privilege and pleasure to invite onto this end of the hall. Oh, okay, they have trust. The former Governor of Rivers State of Nigeria, His Excellency Dr. Peter Odili, to join along with us and chair this session. Please, let's put our hands together for His Excellency. Sorry, what God has put together, we are not putting asunder. Thank you. We'll go on to the process immediately, and we were going to say you should catch your breath, but the distance from that end to this point is not much, so you'll welcome us formally and make a few remarks before we do the book presentation. Your Excellency, sir. I think we use that end. Yes. All right, sir.
Your Excellency, our Governor, the indefatigable, the robust, the courageous, the bold, the fearless and capacity governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. Three times Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, one-time head of state, and two-time democratically elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Former governor of Ekiti State, the deputy governor of Rivers State, Right Honorable Speaker, the Chief Judge, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, including my dear wife. First, let me quickly thank our governor and the leadership of Julius Berger in collaboration with the organizers for conspiring to make me the chairman of this particular section of the event. I feel honored to have been asked to chair this segment. I want to express my profound appreciation for what you have packaged together. Book presentation. And what is the book about? In 2015, a marriage took place. Preparedness and opportunity came together. Governor Wike, by the special grace of God, became our timely governor in 2015. He hit the ground running. Right on the podium, after his swearing-in ceremony, he started work. He swore in an acting chief judge, and by that singular act, opened the doors of the judiciary that had been shut for upwards of 2 years. He drove from the venue straight to the site and flagged off the filling of potholes in his administration. The execution of his master plan. From then on, he started work and didn't take a break even up to the moment of the commencement of today's event. Governor Wike has been working non-stop for the past 7 years, 8 months. This event is going to tell us how much he has been able to deliver. But as a keen observer, tangential participant, I can say that Governor Wike has over-delivered on his promises to Rivers people. He has touched every critical sector: health, education, justice, agriculture, human capital development. In the sector of human capital development, he has broken all previous records. making Rivers State a potential medical hub for medical personnel in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But one area that not even his adversaries were able to deny him was the fact that today he stands as the #1 infrastructure development governor of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He delivered 10 bridges and counting, but I believe the book presenters will give more details to what he has done in the infrastructural sector. The governor has supported security agencies. That is why today you can go anywhere, anytime in Port Harcourt, in Rivers State, without fears of not getting back home. A word about books. Books originate when people write what is readable or worth reading, or when people do things that are worth writing about. But the summit is when you do things that are worth writing about and worth reading about, and go further for those things to become what will shape the future, then you can be said to be a special gift from God in the literary world. Wike has done to perform in such a way that those who put the book together found what he did worthy to write about. And this conference points to the fact that listening very intently to the eloquent delivery of our former president, highlighting the key points and the synergy between good governance, delivery of services, and the future of the people in a sustainable manner. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to say before I take my seat that Governor Wike has made Rivers people proud. And to say to the governor, we are proud of you. And to say to him, on a final note, as Nigeria struggles with yet another transition, with no clarity of tomorrow, may the Almighty God guide you. What I can say to you is that the elders and the peoples of Rivers State are in solidarity with you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention and I welcome you to this exciting segment about the presentation of the book, Bridging Rivers. We have many rivers and we need many more bridges. May God bless you and give thank you.
Please, let's keep the applause going for His Excellency, the former governor of Rivers State, Dr. Peter Odili, the one Baba has christened governor before. Please permit me, most distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to invite Dr. Nzeribe Hekwaba, who has a PhD in civil engineering, and he is the Deputy City Manager, City of Miami, Florida, United States of America, to take us on a tour of the publication as he reviews the book entitled Bridging Rivers, a legacy of transformation leadership. Thank you, sir. Let's put our hands together for him. Thank you, and welcome to Nigeria. Thank you. Yeah.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Permit me to stand on existing protocols, ably established by the moderator. It is my distinct honor and professional privilege to be asked to present an independent review of the book, Bridging Rivers, Transformation and Progress. As an introduction, I have been practicing professional engineering for well over 37 years, having been licensed in the states of Florida, the state of Georgia, province of Ontario, Canada, as well as in Nigeria over 30 years ago. I have been tasked to render a well-resourced and reasoned opinion as to the quality of the work that is embedded in the book. This book and the publication documents in very tangible terms, using concrete evidence and using projects that are so easy to verify in the field, what good governance really looks like in real life. The book is a masterpiece, and it's a collection of several success stories about the transformation and progress of Rivers State as a result of a focused, resourceful, and innovative leadership under the able leadership of Governor Nyesom Ezebonwo Wike. The book is divided into different sections, and each section documents the history, the geography, the people, the culture, the environment, the early and current leadership governance structure, as well as the infrastructure of Rivers State in its best and finest form. This is a legacy publication, and more importantly, it captures severally photographic illustration of iconic accomplishments of the Rivers State government. The book is about Rivers State as a pioneer, a pace-setter, promoter of value-driven innovations, and a clear prioritization of resources for the development of impactful infrastructural assets, which are projects that follow international best practices. The history of Rivers State is well documented in the book, right from 1885, when the Royal Niger Company's Oil Rivers Protectorate was incorporated, to 1912, when the Garden City of Port Harcourt was consummated and founded, to 1941 through 1952, when the Ijaw Rivers People's League was formed, to 1955, with the birth of the Council of Rivers Chiefs and People's Congress, and then to the epochal occasion of May 27, 1967, when it was created, and then to the present time. The book is massively comprehensive. The rich culture, the traditional institutions of our standing repository, the tapestry of cultural energy flowing from different ethnic nationalities are all beautifully captured. These symbols of a glorious past and an inspiring hope for a united future are so weaved together for the reader to understand and appreciate the Rivers people, their way of life, their different cuisine, the uniqueness of lifestyle that is breathtaking. Ladies and gentlemen, the book is refreshing. It is full of nuggets of research data, and it is impressive. The book informs the reader that the Rivers people practiced the concept of merchant prince and trading houses back in the time.
These innovations in anthropology and leadership selection are second. Here is a book that sets out in a very concise, glossy format, well-researched and readable pictorial evidence of good governance, with indisputable features of the before and after conditions of major projects and public facilities, with accurate textual information confirming that the state of rivers is strong and thriving, while showcasing the face of good governance under the leadership that has been in place. Bridging Rivers captures in a very succinct, easy to read and enjoyable manner the strategic transformation of Rivers State. After reading the book, one gets a full satisfaction of how a focused pursuit of plans to deliver iconic and futuristic critical public facilities and resilient projects come about, and how a people can receive good governance from their leaders when and where the right choices are made. As leaders grapple with challenges of development and infrastructural deficits, believers of good governance will always seek paradigm shifts in public policy making, as well as a focus on adaptation, sustainability, and transformational approaches in providing the desired resilient solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, you must obtain and read this book, Bridging Rivers, because it provides an insight on how the right combination of good governance tools can help any country, any state, or any city to move from a reactive to a proactive, planned, and coordinated strategy and master plan to develop a more sustainable future, while saving costs and connecting the workforce to centers of employment. The book is a testament of the time-tested cliché about procuring the right tools and facilitators for the right outcome. Many thanks to all those who worked behind the scene and worked really hard to make the state a better place than they made them, using reputable general contractors and facilitators. Thank you, Your Excellency, and your team. It is clear that providing critical infrastructure facilities was the objective of the Rivers State Master Plan, as detailed in this book, Rivers. These critical infrastructures include the vast network of highways, connecting bridges and flyovers, utilities, university assets, and healthcare facilities, a prestigious law school, judicial buildings that are necessary to maintain normal governmental operations, as well as assure the functions of the state. These assets are critical that every major city or state functionally and organically must depend on them to provide reliable, life-sustaining, excellent municipal and public safety services. In achieving these milestones and landmark infrastructures, Governor Wike and his team have led from the front, from bridging the past to consolidating the present, and finally, focusing on building for the future of Rivers State with a master plan for transformation and progress. On page 75 of the book, you notice that the Rivers State Master Plan is arranged in 8 critical steps for easy program implementation. And happily to date, the Rivers State government is now on the last stage of the Master Plan with the engagement of reputable general contractors like Julius Berger to execute all the major development projects. Bridging Rivers has done an excellent job in documenting those master plan strategic assets. A review of the projects indicates that they were all following global standard of engineering design. Interestingly, both Port Harcourt and Miami, Florida are coastal cities. They have the same tropical weather, similar groundwater and subsoil conditions, and therefore face similar engineering challenges. Having worked in those 2 areas and those 2 regional engineering challenges, I can tell you as an observer that you will easily notice that the Rivers State projects can easily compete with any other elsewhere. Today, the Accelerated Road Development Program for Rivers State has led to the completion and commissioning of several roads, bridges, flyovers, as listed on page 78 of the book. Ladies and gentlemen, Rivers State is now defined by flyovers that addresses the perennial traffic congestion nightmare for all road users. And there are many. Reading through the book, I could count a total of about 17. 10 already in works or completed, and 7 in the works as part of the engineering stage, 8 of that book. But from pages 71 of these major roadways that have been completed, including the before and after photographs for validation. For those who have been in research before, just like me, you will realize that when someone gives you the before and after conditions, it's an honest admission that validity means a lot for you to appreciate the work that has been done. So thank you to those who put together this book for including that vital, critical information. Over 250 local government roads that feed into the arterial major corridors and connect most of the local government headquarters are listed in the book with their specific locations on pages 78 through page 100. On buildings and parks and recreational facilities, there are several of such locations in the with campuses that depict good design, architectural aesthetics, complexity, and functional use. All of them have been completed and commissioned for use, thankfully. Thankfully. And we appreciate you, sir. You now have the Dr. Peter Odele Cancer and Cardiovascular Diseases Center. What an effective, pivotal public infrastructure that addresses the core of geriatric medicine. And by the way, sir, that facility mirrors what we have in Miami, Florida, the Miami Cancer Institute. Exact same concept. And thank you for the thought. You have the Rivers State Teaching Hospital, the Mother and Child Hospital, the Dr. Graham Douglas campus of the Nigerian Law School at Rumueme. Fantastic campus, second to none, and innovative. Judicial buildings that are IT ready, and of course, my best takeaway is the Pleasure Park, which is a transformation of a former Superfund, what we call Superfund sites, environmentally sensitive area, that has been successfully repurposed as a green space for public enjoyment. Thank you for those who had that environmental sustainability thought. You have the Port Harcourt Ecumenical Center, you have the Arts and Entertainment District, you have restoration of the 1887 Bonny Consulate. This is the best kept secret in Port Harcourt. Most folks don't even know that Bonny used to have a consulate during the colonial times. And this book documents that the complete restoration, which is a pivot for growing tourism in Port Harcourt. Thank you guys for that. All this is simply, it is about historic record keeping, it is about legacy, it is about transparency. It is also essentially Rivers State has taken concrete, verifiable steps to address urban sprawl, traffic congestion, and the threat of sea level rise, with a greater focus to manage urbanization and growth. The book, Bridging Rivers, documents that these basic elements required to demonstrate preparedness and address rapid urbanization, address major traffic congestion challenges, provide a safe and healthy environment for the healthcare and educational sectors, and for the efficient dispensation of justice by the judiciary and law enforcement, and overall ensure continuity of operations and government to meet the resilient cities have now been primary consideration by the Rivers State. This is a transformational effort to redevelop a major urban center to address them into better centers of excellence for healthcare and to change the urban landscape and footprint, which is what the book captures. What has happened to Rivers State is a story to be told. And this book has done such an excellent job in putting together in print form for the record and for posterity. This is an important resource for all public officials, governmental agencies in addressing their capital improvement program, asset management protocols, and to improve the functional condition of the public infrastructure. In closing, because I was born and bred here in Port Harcourt many years ago, public was the mayor of Port Harcourt. My profound appreciation of this gallant effort by His Excellency Governor Wike to implement and make permanent the success story of the state of Rivers. Educational institutions and libraries now have a treasure trove of data and verifiable publication to aid and assist their patrons and users' research work. And for the public, more importantly, to use the book Bridging Rivers to know how Rivers State was transformed in the shortest length of time, and therefore to remember how they got to their destination of success. Bridging Rivers is a permanent testimony of a record of good stewardship. Please permit me to state that the book Bridging Rivers for Transformation and Success is a recommended reading for everyone. It is consistent with international standards. It is an invaluable keepsake, not just for believers of good governance, educational institutions and libraries, but also for members of the public who desire and seek reliable data. I salute you, sir, Your Excellency. You and your team have done such a wonderful job, and you have also prepared a transition handover note with the publication of this book. And to the contractor and the publishers, Julius Berger, as we say in Florida, mucho gracias for putting all this together. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening.
Say mucho gracias. Yeah. Thank you very much. From Florida, the Deputy City Manager, a Nigerian, Dr. Nzeribe. Thank you very much. Could you put our hands together for him once more? Most distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to now invite two great minds to do the formal presentation of the publication, after which we shall make the publication available to everybody here this afternoon. So we'll remain on our seats. After the presentation, the formal presentation, will distribute copies of the publication to everyone. Everyone. We have enough to go around. Thank you. May I now invite Dr. Lars Richer, Managing Director, Julius Berger Nigeria PLC, to step forth, as well as Chief Ferdinand Araba, Chairman, River State Owners and Awards Committee, to jointly present the publication. Thank you. You have the microphone?
I have some remarks.
Yes. Okay.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to stand on the existing protocol. It's an honor to be here today to take part in an event of such tremendous consequence, the International Conference on Deepening Democratic Culture and Institutions for Sustainable Development and Security in Nigeria. There are many items of substantial significance on the agenda: legislation, democratic practice, the judiciary, technology, reforms. And I have no doubt that bringing together forward thinkers to share dialogue on such matters in such forum is of. At this junction in today's agenda, I have the privilege to present to you in a stunning format documentation of excellence that can be achieved when such items come together harmoniously. I introduce to you Bridging Rivers, a book that celebrates the rich culture of River State and the vast potential of its socioeconomic and environmental diversity, while capturing the story of transformation and improvement realized under the leadership of His Excellency Governor Wike. Bridging rivers is a testimonial to the advancements possible when ability and possibility converge, when progress is priority, when vision informs action. The book title carries a story of its own that forms the beating heart of the state and the physical structures necessary to connect land masses, communities, and commerce. It considers quite literally the many bridges and flyovers constructed over time, and more recently the efficient and the significance of closing of gaps in key areas such as education, healthcare, urban and industrial development. It considers the significance of providing sustainable, well-planned community and commercial infrastructure as the building blocks to realizing potential, and the many such achievements made visible over the past 8 years. Bridging Rivers reflects the coming together of rivers people with their varied backgrounds, beliefs, and vast cultural contributions to promote love, peace, and unity. It considers an inclusive mindset that celebrates diversity as a bond of rivers people and Nigeria as a whole. Bridging Rivers reflects the history and heritage of rivers, honoring past generations and achievements with the aim of connecting past, present, and future as the greatest measure of a lasting legacy. Bridging Rivers reflects the responsibility felt by the Wike administration and the many conscientious acts of public service towards supporting River State to achieve its greatest potential in achieving such progress. In brief, an excerpt from this book reads, "Transformation is rightfully a continuous process that takes all of us. May we continue to work together for the greater good of Nigeria with a purpose and persistence at pace and at scale to achieve meaningful progress for all. And may you enjoy Bridging Rivers, a keepsake book that captures the treasures of the treasure base of the nation." Thank you.
We now invite Chief Anabra. Thank you, sir.
Your Excellencies, conveners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Bridging Rivers is a beautiful compendium on River State, and it encapsulates many key works of our dear governor. The book reviewer has already taken us through the book, so my remarks will be confined to just a general discourse on some aspects of governance by our governor. I must thank Julius Berger for producing this fine work. In 2015, the people of Rivers State elected a young man, a lawyer by training, to be at the helm of affairs of the government of the state. With a unique approach to governance, it has really been years of transformational and unprecedented development in all parts of Rivers State. Today, one can say with pride that Chief Nyesom Wike, CON, GSSROS Life Venture, Governor of Rivers State, has given Rivers State an uncommon visibility in Nigeria, politically and in terms of development. And people of Rivers State are more united than ever. Governor Wike, now a household name in Nigeria, is without doubt the face of Rivers State. The chairman of this segment has already said it. Wike was inaugurated governor on May 29, 2015. And from Ilekaya Stadium, now Yakubu Gowon Stadium, he came straight to UTC Junction to flag off the zero pothole operations. That gave us indication that we now had a man whose priority would be infrastructural development. Today, we can all attest to the fact that Governor Wike has indeed given an excellent account of himself in the provision of infrastructural facilities which have opened up communities and impacted positively on the life of the people of Rivers State. Constructing 12 flyovers within a period of 4 years by any governor is unprecedented, but Governor Wike has done it. More so during the second term of his administration. Governor Wike has also constructed numerous roads to all nooks and crannies of Rivers State, and always wanting the best for the state. Governor Wike will engage the best contractors available in the likes of Julius Berger to carry out such projects. Governor Wike's performance in infrastructural development has earned him accolades, but I'll just name two. One by Mr. Vice President during Governor Wike's first tenure in office. He named Governor Wike Mr. Projects. And only last year, the President of the Republic of Nigeria, Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, decorated him the best infrastructural governor of Nigeria. Governor Wike has endeared himself to the people of Rivers State through various aspects of good governance. I will avoid a lengthy discourse on those aspects. We'll only talk on infrastructural projects which have brought vast social, political, and economic significance in the governance of the state. In the weeks past before our current local government campaigns, some of us who had the privilege to be in governor's entourage during the numerous flag off and commissioning of projects, we were indeed bewildered by some of the stunning discoveries. I'll give you one. We went to flag off the construction of a new road from a community in a local government area. And we were surprised to know that that particular road alignment led us to discover an island community hidden away called Odido, populated entirely by Ekpeye people, but living in Emoha. The Odido community was totally cut off from civilization. They had no school, they had no power, they had no water. The community had never had government presence. Since it was founded decades ago, there was great jubilation, therefore, when the governor trekked a few miles to see the king in that community, in that hut, which passed as the town hall of the community. You can all imagine the joy and jubilation that greeted that day. It is a thing of joy to say to everybody that that bridge to the community has now been constructed. Similar discoveries were also made in other areas. One in Odwal local government, and a community called in a more local government area. Those communities were very, very elated to see Governor Wike. They had never had government presence since they were founded. Roads are now being constructed to link them to the mainstream. There are indeed several other cases of towns only accessible by boat for many, many decades until they were connected by roads and bridges by the governor of Rivers State. One of them is the Ogoni, Upobo, and Doni Unity Road, being constructed by the Rivers State government. The Upobo community access to their town. Today, they can now drive straight to Upobo. And where I come from, Calabar area, the construction of the Trans-Calabari Road by the River State government has also opened up 6 Calabari communities which had remained inaccessible by road since they were founded over 150 years ago. These projects are clear manifestations of commitment to rural infrastructural development, which has huge significance in bridging the urban-rural dichotomy. The benefits of accessibility, quicker access to health facilities, increased development. Governor Wike's innovative style of project flag-off and commissioning also served to foster unity and friendship in the country. As national leaders were invited from outside Rivers State as special guests to flag off and commission projects, irrespective of their political, religious, and ethnic affiliations. These leaders feel that personal relationship with Rivers people and go back to give the good news and the good works being done by Governor Wike. Let me conclude by commending Governor Wike for excellence in governance, for the unity and peace in the state, as exemplified in the collaboration of all ethnic groups in the pursuit of one common goal, namely a River State devoid of divisive ethnic sentiments, a River State that operates as one big family. I am indeed optimistic that Governor Wike's successor in office will sustain and provide more dividends of democracy in his time. Thank you, and God bless you. May I, at this point, invite the chairman of this segment to please invite others to join in unveiling the book. Mr. Chairman, sir.
To God be glory, as our former president, our governor, and his brother, the former governor of Ekiti State, MD of Julius Berger PLC, and the chairman of the Elders Committee of Rivers People. Jointly and collectively, by the grace of God and with the grace of God, unveil this on behalf of all of us here.
Thank you. While we distribute copies to everybody, we would urge us to remain seated. Please remain seated. Please remain seated. Like we promised, everybody would have a copy. And thereafter, we'll take a lunch break. Please remain seated. We have enough copies to go around. Please remain seated. We have enough copies to go around. Thereafter, we'll have a lunch break before we come back in an hour's time or thereabouts for a roundtable discussion on the judiciary and the deepening of democratic practice in Nigeria. And that will be chaired by Her Excellency Honorable Justice Mary Odili, retired Supreme Court Justice. And we have our presenters on standby already. Chief Emmanuel C. Ukala, SAN, Chief OCJ Okocha, SAN, Ebon Olu Adegboruwa, SAN, Mohammed Bello Adoke, SAN, and the discussant for the session will be Mr. Kanu Agabi, SAN. So please remain seated. There is this other announcement, which is the arrangement for lunch, which will take just about an hour. Our VVIPs, very, very important personalities, that is the high table and the front row of seats. The high table and the front row of seats would use the green room for lunch. Our ushers will direct you as appropriate. And then room B, which is upstairs, is for all participants and House of Assembly members, as well as Honorable Commissioners, Rivers State. Room A, which is upstairs, our revered justices would use the venue outside of the back door. Immediately you step out of this auditorium, the room at the back is where our judges will be feted to lunch. Now, all local government area delegates would use their canopies at the back, outside. Each local government outside. So the local government delegates will use the canopies that have been provided by each of the local governments. I thank you very much. Please, the publications are being distributed. Thank you for sitting quietly. They will go around. We have enough to go around. We have enough to go around. We thank you, because we must all share in this dividend of democracy. Again, the announcement on the lodge arrangement. The green room is for the high table and the front row of seats. Room B upstairs is for conference participants, members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, and honorable commissioners of the Rivers State Executive. Judges are to use outside the back door. That is, when you step out of the auditorium, there is a venue outside for our judges. Traditional rulers are to use the room A, upstairs. Local government delegates are to use the canopies provided at the back of this hall. Each local government area has a canopy provided. Thank you. Thank you. Please, we'll be back here in an hour. We'll be back here in an hour for a continuation of the intellectual fest.
Is prohibited by law. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Serika, stated that the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria Act has been assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari, and it prohibits industrial actions around airports. For now, for this reason, he asserted that the government will ensure that no essential service is disrupted by anyone, no matter how aggrieved. This is coming hours after aviation workers under the aegis of the National Union of Air Transport Employees and Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria suspended their strike, which